All right, so let's start with a self-test. I always like self-tests as long as they're short, and this one is short but sweet. We're going to start this one with a quote from philosopher Michel Foucault. And here's the quote: "People know what they do. Frequently, they know why they do what they do. But what they don't know is what they do does." Did you catch that? You have to think about it for a minute. But he's making a really important point. So let's use that quote as our self-test. So step one, what are three things that you have committed to over the last number of years that you've committed to with a goal of making good happen in your life? So what I'm thinking about here are things like church or synagogue, things like yoga, things like therapy, or activism, that you've joined a particular group and taken a part of their a part in their cause. What are three things like that that you have committed to over the last number of years? And make sure it's a number of years, because we're going to evaluate a little bit, so we need a little time on that. Okay, so once you have that down, then we move to Foucault's second question, which is why? Why did you commit to that? Another way to think about this is to get more focused on the make good happen. That is, what good are you trying to make happen in your life by your commitment to, say, church and synagogue, or to therapy, or to a particular organization that's committed to some kind of social action? What is the good that you're trying to create in each of those three things that you have committed to? So get clear on that. And this is where, for me, I like to write things down. Different personalities, do it however you like, do it best, but it helps me to kind of write things down and think it through. But get those three things that you've committed to, and then get really clear on why you committed to, what good you're trying to have happen in your life because of that commitment. And then we move to the part that Foucault says is the most difficult part of this, and that is that we get clear on what we have committed to has actually done in our lives. So think about it this way: how effective have those commitments been in helping you to make the good that you desired to happen, whether it's in your life, your relationships, or in your community? Now, I know with all of those commitments, there are probably good things that have happened and bad things that have happened, but we're trying to get past that. We're trying to get to the point to where you're really evaluating what has been the effect, overall impact and effect of what you've committed to, and is it satisfying that desire to create good in your life? Is it fulfilling you in a way that you had hoped? So once you get those three things down, once you know three things you've committed to create good in your life, you know why you've committed to that, that is what kind of good you're looking for, and you've taken a moment to evaluate the effectiveness of those things in your life, then we can move to our next step. A number of years ago, I moved to Los Angeles to be the solo pastor of a small, struggling, multi-ethnic, urban congregation. And I wanted to do that to try to create good, the kind of good that is spoken of in one of the letters of the New Testament in the Bible. It's from the letter to the Ephesians. It says this: "For Jesus is our peace, who has made the two groups one and has destroyed the barrier, the dividing wall of hostility. His purpose was to create in himself one new humanity out of the two, thus making peace, and in one body to reconcile both of them to God through the cross, by which he put to death their hostility." I wanted to get together with a community of people that was across the political spectrum, across the economic spectrum, across the ethnic spectrum, across the gender spectrum, to put together a community of people that lived out this idea that we could actually gather together around a common faith and build a community that transcended all of the barriers that even today, a couple of decades later, still are just rife in our country. All of the ways that we define ourselves that divide and create hostility. I wanted to see if we could create a community of peace, and in that way, make good happen in the world. And so, with that idea, I made a commitment to be the solo pastor of this church. And we experienced many highs and many lows during that time. But by the end of the 13 years that I was there, I left a congregation that felt sure that it was going to be able to continue to grow and develop in this next chapter of their lives, that we've created enough momentum and forward movement that they would be able to just kind of soar from that point on. And it was such a wonderful, satisfying feeling to step down from the position at that time in the life of that church. That's the kind of good that I wanted to create. And we all want to create some kind of good in our lives, don't we? I mean, that's an assumption that randylovejoy.com makes, is that you want to create good in your life, in your relationships, and in your community. Unfortunately, creating good is not as easy as we might hope. And it certainly was that in my situation, because it didn't take long after I had left from that church that new hostility began to grow and develop, and people that had built relationships with one another had started to hurt one another and broke off those relationships and left the church. The exact thing I was hoping that we could create, the kind of community that could withstand, happened once again in this congregation. And I know that you have experienced things like that in your own life, ways that you've committed yourself that have been disappointing. Or for some of you, disappointment is not nearly a strong enough word. I remember a friend I spoke with who said that he had been burned by those commitments. And so it just leaves us, as I was when I heard the news about this church, just to kind of decide, are we going to continue to try to create this good? Or are we just kind of done with that experiment, moving on to something else? Well, thankfully, this friend of mine said he was burned, but he was still trying. And that's what randylovejoy.com is all about. It's all about folks that, yes, we've been disappointed, we've been burned, but we're still trying to move forward. And as a matter of fact, this whole virtual platform is the next step in my journey to continue to be committed to creating good in this world in which I live. And so if this is catching your attention, if the idea of gathering together with others to try to continue to create good in your life, even after you've been disappointed, is something that's speaking your language, then let's continue the conversation together. So how is randylovejoy.com going to help you to create more good in your life, your relationships, and your community? Well, it's all about inspiration, habits, and rhythms. You see, randylovejoy.com is going to provide you with intriguing insights on a regular basis. And these insights are going to inspire you. And that inspiration is what we all need. That's the motivation that enables us to work in our lives and on our lives and our relationships in such a way that good starts to happen. But inspiration alone is not enough. You see, we're inspired and motivated, but then we need to develop habits. And the way I'm using the word habit here are the daily things that we do in our everyday lives that strengthen our life, that strengthen our relationships, that build community. So we're going to take that inspiration and develop it into habits in your own life that you will just integrate in such a way that they happen over and over and over again over a period of time. And that's going to help create more good in your life as well. But that's not all. There's a third step, rhythms, because what we're talking about at randylovejoy.com is something you work on individually, but its goal is not individual at all. The goal is to create good not only in your own life, but in the relationships with those that are around you and in the wider community, the wider network of relationships you're already a part of. And so we're going to provide inspiration. You're going to develop habits and use those in your life. And then you're going to develop ways that you draw other people together or go deeper in the relationships you already have around those habits, that inspiration that you've had. And when you do this, then these inspiration, habits, and rhythms are going to form a way of life that's going to continue to be fruitful and create more and more good in you and in those that you love and in the community that you desire to impact for the good. But there's a key question. I know there are a lot of leaders and organizations out there that promise a whole lot and don't really produce. So randylovejoy.com has come up with a do no harm guarantee that will help you to trust that we're going to get you some traction in areas where you've struggled in the past. The whole reason we exist as randylovejoy.com is for people like you. But the key question is, well, how can I trust that this is actually going to get me somewhere when other things did not? And that's why we developed our do no harm guarantee. randylovejoy.com promises no manipulation, no pressure, no narrow-mindedness, and no judgment, only a promise to equip you with a fresh approach to spiritual learning. Questions are expected and valued. Now, that's a great guarantee, but let me add something to this. What I want you to understand is that the whole purpose of randylovejoy.com connects with you successfully creating more good in your life. That is, if you are not creating more good in your life, that means that we are not achieving our reason for existence. And so I want you to understand that we are in this to see you move forward in your life, to help you and equip you in such a way that you begin to experience the kind of good and fruitfulness in your life that you have desired. That's why we exist. That's why you can trust us. We're going to figure this out together. So, are you ready to move forward? Well, let me just map out a few steps for you related to randylovejoy.com. See what you're interested in. Now, the first step, and many of you may have already engaged this, but the first step is to connect with the content that we're providing, the inspiration that we're providing in our various social media channels. So that's Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. We've got a YouTube channel that maybe you're watching this video on the YouTube channel right now. But connect with those and then go and visit our website, www.randylovejoy.com. And there you'll find out more information about who we are, what's going on, and how you can be involved. So that's step one. Now, the second step that I hope you all take is that as you visit the website, you sign up for our weekly newsletter. It's through that weekly newsletter that you're going to get updated announcements about the podcast that we're developing, explaining more what we're about. There's going to be a paragraph of information that's going to help you to move forward in your own spiritual journey. This is the way to stay kind of connected as we begin to move forward and develop things, because we've just been around fully fledged for just a few months now. And so you are jumping in as a trailblazer, as a part of this thing. So I encourage you to sign up for that newsletter. And there's one more step that I hope you can take. And that is that we are so excited about our first digital course in August, How to Understand the Bible to Create Good in Your Life. And in this course that's 5 weeks long, we're going to be providing all sorts of information, opportunities for discussion, PDFs, interactive virtual processes that you can engage in that will help you create good in your life around the Bible. Now, some of you are like, the Bible, really? Is that where you guys are starting? But think about it. How many books that have ever existed have had the kind of impact on people's lives that the Bible has. You may be more familiar with the negative things that the Bible has done. But if you really look at everything that the Bible has done in human history, it is incredible how many millions upon millions of people through different generations and different cultures have engaged the Bible in a particular way and have created good in their lives, the good they desired in their lives through those stories and through those scriptures. And so that course is all about equipping you so that you can integrate the Bible into your life in a way that will create good in your life, your relationships, and your community. We guarantee that you'll see good happening before that course is over. So those are those steps for you. Just get involved. Keep checking us out. We are growing and developing. We're testing other beta types of products and of ways to help people move forward. And so stay on that front edge of what we're doing, because we are going to get you moving forward and creating the good that you desire in your life. And we'll talk again soon.